Hey everybody, Arnaldo here, broadcasting from Fidelio's Frequency. Welcome to my channel. This upcoming Saturday, April 22nd, is Record Store Day, and I am sure a lot of you guys are excited for the releases that are coming out this year, and I was lucky enough to receive quite a few of them already, and in this video I will do an unboxing and I will give you a little bit more detail about some of the releases and share some of my thoughts regarding them. So I guess let's get started. And the first one I'd like to talk to you about is the 20th anniversary edition of Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros Street Core. This is being reissued on white vinyl in occasion of the 20th anniversary by Dark Horse Records, which is the label founded by George Harrison. So let's take a look at the packaging. The gatefold, which replicates the original artwork and presentation of the album that was done in 2003 when it originally came out. The inner sleeve has lyrics and credits and pictures just like the original, and this version that is being released on Record Store Day is on white vinyl with the Dark Horse labels, which essentially is the only difference to the 2003 presentation. The album is being released for the first time singularly since 2003. It was included in the 2022 box set retrospective of Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros that contained the 3 albums. However, the artwork is fully represented for the first time since its initial release in this occasion. The album has the same mastering by Paul Hicks that was featured also on the 2022 box set. And just a little bit of background on this album. This is the 3rd and final album of Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. Joe Strummer died in December of 2002, having recorded most of the material, I would say almost all of the material included on this album, which is a posthumous release from 2003, and it was produced and with final overdubs by the remaining band members, Scott Shields and Martin Slattery. All the vocals are essentially the first takes that Joe Strummer did, and as a matter of fact, one of the songs is without lyrics. I believe it's called Midnight Jam. And this album also includes 2 tracks produced by Rick Rubin, Redemption Song, which is the cover of the Bob Marley hit, and Long Shadow, I think. So I guess that wraps it up for the first release I'll be featuring, Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros, the 20th anniversary edition of Street Core. The next release I would like to talk to you about is the 50th anniversary picture disc edition of Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Brain Salad Surgery. This was cut from high-res files at 2496, and I have to say, it sounds pretty good. Yes, there is the usual kind of like very low surface noise, which is typical of picture discs, and you usually hear it at the lead-in track and sometimes in the breaks between tracks. But otherwise, it sounds really good. It's punchy, like the mastering choices I think are really good. So really nice picture disc, which reveals the other art. And let me show you the picture disc itself. And the other side. So I guess those of you who are familiar with the album know that it is a prog classic. Brain Salad Surgery just, I'm not sure if it just celebrated its 50th anniversary. In any event, it was released in 1973. and it's getting a re-release on picture disc this upcoming Record Store Day. The next release I'd like to show you will make all Duran Duran fans very happy. For the first time since 2013, this release is getting a widespread, at least a more widespread release, unlike the initial edition that came out in 2013, which was only in a very limited edition and numbered box set, which now goes for astronomical amounts of money. And I'm talking about TV Mania, Bored with Prozac and the Internet. This is the side project of band members Nick Rhodes and Warren Cucurullu. Warren was part of Duran Duran during the 90s. And let me show you the packaging, which is actually really nice. Here they are, Warren and Nick Rhodes. It also comes with a really nice booklet with a little bit of background on what this album was about, an essay by Nick Rhodes, and then pictures. And the album itself is also has a inner sleeve, which is plain black background. And the album itself is being also, in this case, featured on white vinyl. And now I will tell you a little bit about this album. TV Mania, like I just mentioned, is a side project of two members of Duran Duran. Nick Rhodes and Warren Cucurullu started creating music in the period of like 1995, 1996. And they worked on about 60 tracks together for this project and never released it. It only found an official release after Nick Rhodes came across the DAT tapes in his storage in 2012, and it was released in 2013. A lot of the tracks on this album were subsequently reworked for the Duran Duran album called Medazzaland. And this album, when I had not heard it at the time. I only got a chance to listen to it now. It reminds me, it's first of all a concept album, and it reminds me a lot of, in terms of music and atmosphere, it reminds me a lot of David Bowie's Outside. Both the musical textures and the whole underlying concept of the story of this album is kind of like foreseeing almost the reality and social media that has in the last 20 to 25 years really engulfed our lives. The story behind this album is a fictional story, of course, that saw a family being removed from society. They volunteered to live in a television-free, communication-free household, not knowing that they were being filmed and it was being broadcast to the outside world. A lot of complications arise afterwards, and they're actually really nice. The story's really nicely told in the booklet, but definitely a fascinating project, which all Duran Duran fans will probably find very exciting. So TV Mania, Bored with Prozac and the Internet. That brings us to the next release by Ali Farka Touré. This is called the Green Album. Initially, he released 2 self-titled albums in the 80s. Each one had like different color tones on the album covers. They were all called Ali Farka Touré, and they have been renamed respectively Red and Green albums. This is the Green Album that is coming out on Record Store Day. Comes with a sleeve, not really a sleeve, like an insert with the lyrics and credits. It is pressed on green translucent vinyl. And this vinyl was pressed at Optimal, I believe, from the dead wax and from the credits on the back. It sounds really good in terms of pressing quality. Now, for those of you who don't know Ali Farka Touré, he is regarded as one of the greatest guitar players of all time for his finger-style guitar playing. He's called the King of the Desert Blues, and yes, and this album has not been available on vinyl since 1990. So for fans of blues, desert blues, and for fans of Ali Farka Touré, I'm sure this will be a much welcomed release for this upcoming Record Store Day. So Ali Farka Touré and the Green Album. Moving on to the next release, one of my favorite releases so far is the reissue of the 2011 compilation by Keith Richards called Vintage Vinos. Like I said, this is the first time it is available since 2011. The presentation of this release is really exceptional. Very hard cardstock, very heavy cardstock, almost Stoughton type. The cover it's all matte with spot gloss finish. Not sure if you can tell from the light. All the writing here is spot gloss, just like on the back. The titles and all the text is spot gloss, as well as the inside gatefold. Pictures are have the spot varnish finish with lyrics and credits. The vinyl comes in black, plain, die-cut inner sleeve, unfortunately not poly-lined, and the vinyl is two-tone, unlike the first pressing, which I believe was just a transparent red. This one is a really cool two-tone, really well pressed. Music is on 3 sides, and the 4th side, which I'll show you in a minute, has an etching. And unlike the original etching, like the etching that was on the original edition, which showed basically an etching of this picture, this one actually has an etching of kind of like the crest of the expensive winos, which is Keith Richards' band. I don't know if you could see, there you go. Really cool. Like I said, vinyl is very nicely pressed. No problems with the mastering. And oh, one more thing. The first edition came with like 10 by 10 prints of each of the albums included, selected for this compilation. So we had the first album, which I believe was called Talk Is Cheap, then the live album that came out, and the second studio album called Main Offender. And the prints replicated the album covers. They went with something totally different. They actually chose alternate pictures from those sessions, and I think these are actually nicer than the ones that were in the first edition. So we have an alternate picture of the photo session for Talk Is Cheap. Then we have an alternate picture of the photo session for Main Offender. And then we have a live shot of Keith Richards, obviously for the live album. Yes, I wish this was Keith Richards' real signature, but I believe it's only printed. When it comes to the content of this album, there are selections from the 2 studio albums and the live album. There is one song on here which is called Hurricane, which was only a fan exclusive. It was done in occasion of the Hurricane Katrina Relief Fund, and only the people that donated to that fund were able to download this track, Hurricane. And then you have songs from the first album and the live album, and then the second album. And really cool how they indicated the 4th side, where there is the etching of the crest. So that was Keith Richards and Vintage Vinos. Next up is the South Soul Records release, Larry Levan's Paradise Garage. Comes with an obi, removable, which shows also some of the other releases on the South Soul label. Here's the full cover with the back cover, pictures of Larry. The vinyl, it's a 2-record set in a die-cut black inner sleeve, and the vinyl is actually pressed on a really nice color, like splatter vinyl, black and red on the South Soul label. And I won't show you the other record, which is basically identical. I'd rather talk to you more about Larry Levan and the Paradise Garage. Larry Levan was the resident DJ of Paradise Garage, which operated from 1977 to 1987 in New York City. It was a guest list, I want to say, only kind of club. It did not serve any alcohol, it served snacks, and it was able to operate thanks to that until the early hours of the morning, usually on Saturdays or Sundays, until like 10, 11, maybe late morning, because most of the time people wouldn't start coming to the club until like maybe 3, 4 in the morning. And it was a club where it wasn't really the same scene as you would find at Studio 54. Here, people went exclusively for the music and to dance, and rightfully so, because the set list provided by Larry Levan was always high quality. Larry was very unique in remixing the tracks that he would play, almost like filtering the rhythm tracks, adding vocals, adding percussion, getting it kind of like a percussive and propulsive groove. And that's what you hear on this selection of songs, of remixes that is presented on this album. Some of the songs are remixes of hits of the time, dance hits of the time. The most notable one is Lolita Holloway's The Greatest Performance of My Life. Also included is the South Soul Orchestra How High, First Time Around by the group Sky. I'll just show you the track listing, probably it's easier. And for all soul and dance connoisseurs, definitely check out this release on Record Store Day by Larry Levan and the Paradise Garage. Next up is the release by the 90s band Garbage. They're releasing a 12-inch of all previously either unavailable on vinyl or unreleased tracks. The 12-inch is called Witness to Your Love. I'm not sure if this is the way you look at it, correct. And here's the rear cover. The inner sleeve And this one is released on transparent, kind of orange-red vinyl. And the songs on the featured on the 12-inch are Witness to Your Love, which is an unreleased track from 2008. Really beautiful cover of Susie and the Banshees' Cities in Dust. And then 2 unreleased tracks from, I believe it was 2021 album by Garbage, No Gods, No Monsters. And yeah, there it is, Witness to Your Love by Garbage. And that brings us to the last release that I would like to feature in this video, Clark Kent. This is none other than Stuart Copeland, the drummer from Police. Let me show you how it's presented. Here's the unboxing for you, the lyrics, credits, picture of Stuart Copeland in disguise. He's wearing a mask, and he's trying to hint at the fact by wearing this yellow and black striped shirt. He featured here as well as here, that he's hinting at Sting, the B Colors. He was doing this project incognito, and left an air of mystery about who he was for a few years. I want to present you also, show you the vinyl, which is pressed like the original on green transparent vinyl on the made-up label Kryptone. It's a play on Clark Kent, Kryptonite. Originally, this album was released as a 10-inch, and is now being featured as a 12-inch for the first time. Clark Kent, I'll tell you a little bit about this project. It all started with the track called Don't Care. Back in 1978, it was a track that Stuart Copeland wrote for the band The Police while he was in The Police. They had, I believe, just made their first record, or maybe they were in the process of making their first record. Sting didn't feel comfortable singing the lyrics to the song, and Stuart Copeland decided that it deserved an audience, and played all the instruments, sang on it himself, and released it. And what do you know? It ended up in the top 40 for the UK, and never publicized who Clark Kent was until later. He subsequently released a few more singles. I think it was Away From Home. The other one was Too Cool to Calypso, which is not featured on this one, on this album. And Rich in a Ditch are the other titles. This album was later compiled, I believe, in 1980, and released as a 10-inch, as I said, and is now being available for the first time, I believe, since then. And what kind of music is Clark Kent? If you like the early Police from 1978 and 1979, you'll definitely like Clark Kent. Obviously, Sting is not singing. Clark Kent, which is Stuart Copeland, does all of the, actually he plays all the instruments and sings as well. Interesting, one of the songs on this EP, I think it's called Excesses, was later reworked in Stuart Copeland's Rumble Fish soundtrack to that same movie. Really nice soundtrack, check that out, very fascinating. And that kind of concludes it. Clark Kent, coming out also on Record Store Day. I may feature other releases in an upcoming video, but until then, I hope you enjoyed this one. Feel free to leave a comment, ask any further questions, like it or dislike it, just show some interest in the video, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.